It was a cold winter night on January 1, 2001. 15-year-old Katrin Konert was waiting alone at a bus stop in the small town of Bergen, Germany. That morning, Katrin had told her parents that she was meeting up with her best friend Stephanie. But she had actually come to visit her secret boyfriend Joachim, who was almost twice her age, at his apartment in Bergen. That afternoon the couple got into an argument, and at around 6:30 p.m., Katrin took off on her own to the nearby bus stop. She needed a ride to her hometown of Waduites, which was about 13 kilometers away. At 7:30 p.m. when the bus heading to Waduites arrived at the bus stop, Katrin was already gone. 20 years later, Katrin is yet to be found. Described as bubbly and a friendly 15-year-old high school student, Katrin Konert was a normal teenager from the small town of Waduites, Germany. However, her family and some acquaintances remembered that in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, Katrin had been a bit too irritable, moody, and would talk back to her parents. In fact, Katrin's father remembers having a heated argument with her when he once found her smoking. Another acquaintance later revealed that Katrin had even confided in him about planning to run away from home, which he assumed was just a normal teenage reaction to being admonished by parents. On the afternoon of January 1, 2001, Katrin left her parents' house at around 2:15 p.m. after informing them that she'd be meeting up with her best friend, Stephanie. In reality, she was being picked up by a friend of her secret boyfriend, Joachim. She arrived at Joachim's apartment in Bergen around 2:45 p.m. They spent some time together watching TV, but sometime during the afternoon, they got into an argument. Katrin's friend Stephanie, who was supposed to join the couple that evening, messaged her at 5 p.m. informing her that she would not be able to make it due to the worsening weather outside. The streets were covered in black ice, which made it dangerous to drive. Desperate to leave Joachim's apartment after their fight, Katrin texted some of her friends, asking them if any of them could give her a ride back to her home in Waduites. One of Joachim's friends named Sven replied, and offered to drive Katrin home at around 5:40 p.m. But Katrin refused the offer, saying that it was too early for her to go home. At 6 p.m. Katrin messaged one of her sisters, asking her to tell their mother that she'd be home between 6:30 and 7 p.m. The message was allegedly sent from a number the sister didn't recognize. In an attempt to hide the truth from their parents, the sister deleted the message and informed her mother that Katrin would be arriving late. Katrin refused Joachim's offer to lend her taxi money, and at 6:47 p.m., Katrin left Joachim's apartment. She was seen walking past a church towards the bus stop at 6:50 p.m. by Christian, a friend of Katrin's. And at 7 p.m., another friend of Katrin named Martin drove past the bus stop and stopped his car when he noticed Katrin. He offered her a ride home, but Katrin refused on account of his rash driving skills and the black ice. At 7:30 p.m., when the local bus arrived at the bus stop, Katrin wasn't there anymore. There are no witnesses who saw her leave, and to this day, she has never been found. Since the disappearance of Katrin, there have been multiple suspects that the police considered, but there are also those who believe that there was no foul play involved at all. Katrin's own father surmised that she must have run away from home, and that she'd eventually return. He even traveled to Berlin to look for her after an alleged sighting of Katrin. This notion, spurred by Katrin's own family, might have led the police initially to pursue their investigation in that direction. However, police now believe that Katrin was in fact a victim of foul play, and believe that she was murdered. Katrin's family, friends and acquaintances were questioned many times. Some of Katrin's friends who last spoke to her over text were also questioned, but nothing of significance was ever uncovered. And so, Katrin's case went cold for years to come. 5 years after Katrin's disappearance, her sister received an anonymous phone call. The caller was a woman, and spoke German with a heavy Eastern European accent. The call only lasted a few seconds. The woman said that she was calling because of her sister, the one who disappeared, and just said the words BMW, black, Hamburg. The call ended as abruptly as it started. The call was later traced to a phone booth in Nuremberg, more than 500 kilometers from Waduites. The phone booth is located in a large industrial district of Nuremberg, which sparked rumors about a possible link to prostitution or trafficking. The card used for the call was used for 3 other calls shortly before the one made to Katrin's sister. The first call was to a deactivated UK mobile number, which has never been reactivated. Another call was made to a detective in the homicide department of Berlin, and the third to a business consultant in Hamburg, neither of whom picked up the phone. There was another clue mentioning a black BMW with a license plate from Berlin. In 2017, a chalk graffiti was found on the wall of the bus stop that Katrin was last seen at. It said that Katrin was abused by Bussy and Jagger. Katrin's last name was misspelled as Konert. Another chalk graffiti that matched the handwriting of the first one was found on a different local bus stop, quoting a passage from Goethe. It is unclear whether this was a prank, or something more significant. Jäger translates to hunter, but is also a very common German last name. Though the police investigated the graffitis, they weren't able to make any significant progress in Katrin's case. In 2002, a woman traveling through Bergen reportedly saw a girl at a bus stop, talking to the driver of a black BMW with a Berlin license plate. This unnamed witness testified to the police, stating that the girl she saw at the bus stop in Bergen matched the description of Katrin. In an attempt to refresh her memory, police took her to the bus stop that Katrin disappeared from, but the witness did not recognize it, nor any other stops close by. Despite her very specific description of the bus stop she saw, the police couldn't identify the location. Although the description of the black BMW matches the detail from the anonymous phone call, police were uncertain whether what the witness saw was related to Katrin's disappearance, and have since ruled out this tip as anything significant. It could be, however, that the woman indeed saw something relevant to the case, just in a completely different town. Perhaps after Katrin set out to walk home. Out of the many people questioned about Katrin's disappearance, the police found 4 people whom they strongly believed to be suspects. The first was Katrin's secret boyfriend, Joachim, whom she met through Stephanie. Joachim had formerly been dating a sister of Stephanie's, and met Katrin when driving both of them home from school one day. Joachim was part of a motorcycle gang at that point, and took both Katrin and Stephanie to their meetings. He testified that they got into an argument during the afternoon of her disappearance, but he said that she left the apartment alone, which was the last he saw or heard of her. A few days after the disappearance, Joachim and Stephanie went out to search for Katrin by themselves in the area, but found no trace of her. His apartment was thoroughly searched by the police, but nothing was ever found. The second suspect was Christian, a friend of Katrin's, and one of the people she texted before her disappearance. There were rumors that he had a crush on her, but he denied them. The night Katrin disappeared, Christian and his girlfriend were driving, when they noticed Katrin walking towards the bus stop. They stopped to greet her, but didn't stay long. After dropping his girlfriend off at her place, Christian drove to a local gas station, past the bus stop in the same direction as Katrin's bus route. At that point, he didn't see Katrin anymore. Around 9 p.m., he arrived at his girlfriend's flat again. His apartment and car were surveilled by police for weeks, with no result. The third suspect was a friend of Joachim named Sven, who first offered to drive Katrin home at around 5:40 p.m., which she refused. At 6:40 p.m., Katrin messaged him, asking him to pick her up at 7 p.m. from Joachim's apartment. Katrin's phone records show that she called Sven again a few minutes later. The call lasted only a few seconds. It is unclear what was said between them, or whether the call went straight to voicemail. According to Joachim, Katrin left alone around 6:47 p.m. Some of the details in Sven's account of the rest of the evening don't add up. He claimed to have ordered a pizza using his girlfriend's phone shortly before 7 p.m. Her phone records show, however, that the last call made was at 6:18 p.m. and no other call to the pizza restaurant was made that night. He further claimed he picked up his pizza right after the call, which no witness at the pizza restaurant can confirm. Although Sven claims to have returned to his friends with the pizza, no one seems to remember that. He allegedly drove home around 7:30 p.m., passing the bus stop but not seeing any trace of Katrin. Around 8:45 p.m., he met up with his girlfriend to go to a bar. Despite these discrepancies in his account, There is still no solid evidence to suggest that Sven was involved in the disappearance. The fourth suspect was Martin, another friend of Katrin. According to Martin, he was driving to see his girlfriend, and noticed Katrin waiting at the bus stop. He stopped and offered her a ride, but she allegedly refused, pointing to his risky driving skills and the fact that the streets were covered in black ice. He claimed to have continued his drive to his girlfriend, arriving around 8 p.m. However, this is inconsistent with his girlfriend's account, who remembered him arriving after she had already been watching a specific show on TV for a while, which started at 8:15 p.m. The drive from the bus stop to her apartment would only be around 2 minutes, so what took him so long? She also claimed that Martin refused to have his car searched by police and only agreed to it much later. Once again, despite everything, there wasn't enough evidence to suspect him any further. It is possible that one of Katrin's friends or Joachim's friends had picked her up from the bus stop and killed her. But due to a severe lack of evidence, this theory is not taken seriously by the authorities. When the anonymous phone call was made to Katrin's sister, police found that the call had come from an industrial area in Nuremberg, which had a known prostitution ring operating there. This theory is still considered a possibility by the police. Perhaps, Katrin tried to hitchhike and succumbed to an accident, or perhaps she met with foul play. In November 2018, police received an anonymous call with what they call interesting information. The caller spoke of a possible location of Katrin's body. Further information was not published, but the police had publicly asked the caller to get in touch with them again. In 2018, a German broadcaster, NDR, published an intensive multi-episode podcast on the case, including interviews with the family and friends of Katrin Konert as well as investigators involved in the case. On their podcast, they had discussed the possibility of Katrin running into a known serial killer, whose name was never mentioned. Police say that they cannot rule out this possibility. Katrin's family hopes that one day, the truth about her will be revealed. The case of Katrin Konert remains unsolved to this day, and the police continue to investigate. Thank you for watching, and we hope you found our video interesting. Like, comment and subscribe for more fascinating unsolved mysteries.